What's up, guys? There he is. Ooh.
What up?
Ooh.
What up? What up?
So we got the spooky one tonight, huh?
Oh yeah.
Scary stories. We also encourage you guys to put in some of your interestingly weird, scary stories, hauntings, what so have you, of course. Of course. Well, Devil's back. For
I'm back in the
third
saddle
time.
again.
3 times a charm. He's got
Three
some really
times.
cool ghost stories and or huntings, hauntings, what would you call it?
I'd say investigations.
Investigations. I keep forgetting about that. That
Yeah.
totally makes sense, you know?
Yeah. And by the way, thank you for having me again for the third time.
Yeah,
Thank
always
you.
enjoy having you there.
But we reached out to a few celebs, but they never reached back to us. So,
Yeah. I can be that filler.
I'm glad that you filled in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When the ones you really want to come don't come. Just ask Devil.
Always come.
I'll be the
Always
filler.
come. Oh yeah. Filler up. But yeah, no, we each are gonna try to tell, like, their Knight has a story. I have a story. Devil's got a couple of really good ones that he's done. We'll let him go ahead and tell us a couple of the fun ones that he's had. And then we'll go into, if he wants to split off, we'll do something, whatever. But go ahead, Devil. What do you got?
Yeah,
for
so
us?
well, basically, I just want to kind of talk about a little bit about my experiences before I decided to go any further with it. I grew up with a pretty vivid imagination, and I had something called night terrors. So if you're not a parent, or if you haven't experienced them, you might not know what it is. But it's basically, you wake up scared and stuff like that, and you're like, your kids will wake up, upset. But I have a very vivid imagination, and I could do what was called lucid dreaming when I was a kid. So there was like a hard time for me to differentiate reality between dreaming and awake time sometimes, because I'd be running around doing sports, whatever, and and it's usually when I was exhausted, and I'd go to bed exhausted, and then I'd dream, and I used to have these really, really bad nightmares. So it was one of those situations where you'd go to sleep and then you'd wake up. You think you were awake, but you weren't. You were actually still dreaming. And then you'd step outside the bed, or you stick your head outside a window, and something would grab you. Like, those were my dreams, and it felt real. And I dream in color. A lot of people don't dream in color. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
So I have very vivid color recognition. So I used to have such bad dreams that I learned how to control them. I got to a point where I started recognizing when a dream was turning bad, and I would have this like routine when I was a kid where I'd go and hide underneath something, and I'd be like, it's just a dream, just a dream, just a dream. And then when I realized it was a dream, I could stay in my dream and I could control it. I could say, I want to fly, and then I could fly. I would be conscious of the fact that I was dreaming. So yes. So growing up with my imagination and stuff, I had some things that were happening to me when I was young that I didn't know if it was a dream or not. And when you have that ability to be able to control your dreams, but your dreams are fighting back, there was some scary shit that I seen that I felt like was real. I started when I was young. I lived in a house that if you looked at it, you'd go, yeah, that's haunted. And we talked about where I'm from. So I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts, and there was this house that I lived in that was like 3 stories. It was multiple people living there. And it was a definite old, creepy looking house. And I had these things that would happen. I'd have late at night scratches on the wall. I'd have, things all of a sudden moving around. When I was waking up in my bedroom, there was one time I woke up and I thought I saw like glowing eyes in the corner of my room, and I freaked out and pulled the blankets up close. And then, I yelled for my brother to come in the room, and like I heard that scratch. And then like right when I heard that, I like sat back in my bed, and the bookshelf in my room fell on my bed. So like
Damn.
I've had some creepy shit happen. So
Phew,
I mean
man.
and as a kid, you don't know
Yeah.
what experiences other people are having. So like, I told my brother and he was just like, shut up, go back to bed, you're fine, it's nothing. You probably just tried to lean on the bookshelf. I'm like, no, dude, I was up in my bed like trying to get as small as I could at the end of the bed. Um, so I've had like some situations like that was kind of weird. Um, I want to talk about another one that I didn't realize what it was, and I'll explain more in detail later on when I talk about being an investigator and some of the things you're learning. But when I was a teenager, two things happened to me. The first thing that happened to me was I got home, I was exhausted, and I think I was playing hockey and like multiple sports, and I probably went out with friends, maybe even went drinking as a teenager. And then I got home and I had a waterbed. Um, for those that don't know, it's literally a bed like filled up with water. And then
Mm-hmm.
I laid down on the waterbed. I remember passing out, and then I remember it was late at night, and I woke up, and I was like, my arms were out to the side of me, like a cross. Okay, so my feet were together. I was looking straight up at my ceiling, and my arms were out kind of like a cross. And I was just laying there, but I had this really creepy feeling that I was being watched. So I wanted to look to the side of my bed, but I couldn't move. I was frozen. So I was like, am I so scared that I'm frozen? But I was like, there's something there. So then I'm like using like just my peripheral vision, I could see a dark shadow like right where my door was and standing
Ooh,
there.
creepy.
And I'm like, am I dreaming? Am I awake? What's going on? I
Sure,
can't
it wasn't the coat
move.
hanger.
No,
Just
yeah,
saying, because sometimes that shit looks like a fucking person.
it
You're
does.
not
It
wrong
does.
with a like a coat on it or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
freaky.
yeah, it's creepy
Yeah,
as hell.
it was my bedroom was only lit up, by moonlight that was coming in through the window, so it was very, very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking in the peripheral and seeing this like figure or whatever, and then I'm like, all right, it's not real, it's not real. And then it looked like it moved where it's like leaned over me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started panicking. I'm like, it moved, it moved, it moved. So then I'm like, all right, maybe I'm sleeping, maybe I'm sleeping. Just control my breathing. And I could hear breathing. I could hear breathing. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
all right, control your breathing. Then I realized the breathing I heard wasn't me. The breathing was coming from my right. And I
Ooh,
was like,
shit.
oh shit. Close my eyes and just pray, do whatever you can do. I'm like, this ain't real, this ain't real. Close your eyes. And I remember I opened my eyes, and the moment I opened my eyes I could move. And I got up, turned the light on, I freaked out, I screamed. I was probably 16 years old, and I screamed for my mother, I screamed for my brother. I'm like, come in the room, somebody was in my room. Like I freaked out. And like for weeks, I
Mm-hmm.
kept on saying to my mom and my brother, like, there was something in my room. I couldn't move. Like I felt like I was weighted down. I couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I had that type of situation happen to me. Um, and it kept on, like things like that started building throughout my life where I didn't understand what the frick is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have friends that had similar situations. So
Hmm.
when Paranormal Investigators became a show on TV, and adventurers,
Mm-hmm.
it instantly piqued my curiosity because the thing is the unnatural or whatever it is, the unknown phenomenon can never be caught on photo. It can never, there's never any proof of it. No proof of aliens, Bigfoot, Loch Ness
Yeah.
monsters, ghosts, or like anything spiritual. It's one of those things where it
Oh,
keeps,
those aliens.
yeah, it keeps eluding
Those
us. We'll talk about
aliens.
that another day. um so when they started having those shows, I really started getting into it, and I started really watching and listening and paying attention to some of the things
Mm-hmm.
it was saying. And I was making the decision then, I want to do this. I want to research and I want to find out what's going on. I
Mm-hmm.
understood the tools they were using. I understood the science behind them. I used to be an electrician. So I understood like what EMF is. A lot of people just know the letters EMF. They don't understand it's electronic and magnetic force, like what that really means. I do, because in
Mhm.
electrical, you have to learn about that. Magnetism, you have to learn about all that. And I was always someone that was good with, cameras and electronics. So I was
Mhm.
like, you know what, I want to do this. So I did. I got into it with some people and started doing some investigating. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the investigate one of the first ones? Was it the story that you wanted to tell, or?
No, actually. So yeah, so I was gonna bring on two stories. I didn't do
Mhm.
it for a long time. I was a very busy person. I got kind of creeped out a little bit too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but I'll definitely share two of the stories of some of the things that I've been involved in.
Mhm.
So, should I get right into it?
Yeah, go for it. I would.
Well,
We
real
want to hear it.
quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
while this was going on, I thought I had something behind me there for a second, and that is because there's this like little white speck
Yeah, we
right
all got the
there.
white speck. Come
Yeah, and then
on.
I'm looking. I went and looked at everybody else. Oh, thank God, because I don't remember having like, what the hell is that over there? But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it
It's like
scared the shit out
it's
of you.
right there. Wait, wait,
Little
wait,
It
wait.
was,
eyeball.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was actually bothering me a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Photoshop at its finest.
I know, right?
But go ahead with the the story.
With the stories.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I'll just tell you how I get into it. So I was working with some people that were also interested in the show,
Mhm.
but they had connections, and they
Mhm.
they knew some people that were already doing some
Mhm.
medium. They had one. They knew a medium. They knew a priest, and they had friends that were already kind of doing this paranormal stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they came to me. They heard my interest, and they just said, "Hey, do you want to come with us? We could really, use someone that's has your
Mhm.
technical knowledge." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you have to understand that I think scientifically, so I'm more on the non-believer side first. I'm going to be the first one that's going to say, "Oh, the curtain's moving. Let me figure out if it's a vent that's blowing the wind into the curtain."
Yeah.
Let me
Mhm.
figure out how to prove it's not what you think it
Yeah.
is.
A logical reason to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in a lot of cases, and if you watch those shows, there are a lot of logical reasons. So it gets debunked. The stories get debunked.
Yep.
They're like, oh, well, this is why you think you see eyes, but it's a reflection of this. And
Mhm.
they can prove to the people that no, it's not what you think it is. So I kind of wanted to be that type of person because that was my goal. My goal
Mhm.
was really to be like, all right, are you just believing because you want to believe, or is there some truth behind this? So I explained that to them, and they said, we love it because we have someone that the moment something happens, they go, oh, it's a ghost. It's like no matter what it is, oh, it's a spirit. Oh, there's an orb. That means there's a ghost somewhere.
Yep.
And then we had someone that was kind of really but could go either way depending on what type of thing it was. And then you had someone like me that's going to go, that's not a ghost. Let me see what it is. I'm going to prove that it's not a ghost. Um, so we kind of really did feed off each other and try to come to logical conclusions on things, which I could not. There were definitely a couple of instances where, as much as I wanted to find out what the hell, the phenomenon was and prove it,
Mhm.
it just didn't make sense. It just didn't
Hmm.
make sense. So the first thing I'll talk about is my best friend, found out that I was doing this stuff,
Mhm.
and I had talked about a first story when I was a little kid. My best friend lived with me when he was young,
Mhm.
and my best friend for his entire life has had something follow him. So he always had this dark image that he would wake up to. It would be somewhere in his room. It would be a shadow. And it's not. I'm saying it's not a shape of a person. It's just a dark mass of some kind.
Yep.
And
Something
and
that's
it,
kind of
it-
just haunting
yeah,
him.
and it would disappear. But he would see it at night. It never bothered him. It
Mhm.
never made anything bad happen. Like no
Mhm.
scratch marks, no creepy noises, no nothing, not poltergeist type stuff. It was just the presence that was there and that he
Mhm.
visually could see.
Yeah.
So there was one time he was crashing at my place,
Mm-hmm.
and he woke me up, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Don't move. Just open your eyes and look right above us." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Just open your eyes and look right above us. Please tell me you see what I see." So I have no idea what he's looking for. So like
Mm-hmm.
I just opened my eyes and I'm like, I don't see anything at first.
Did you
But
see a
then
ceiling?
Yeah.
not even. No, it was so dark. It was hard to see. So, when it's nighttime and you're opening your eyes and there isn't really any light in the room except for the moonlight coming through, it's still
Mm-hmm.
not easy to see in.
Oh yeah.
So, but then I did notice that above us, it looked like smoke. I don't know how else to explain it. Like it was literally like black smoke. So first thing I recognize is I don't smell smoke. So it's not like there's smoke in the house. Then I'm rubbing my eyes because I'm like, maybe I just got junk in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Do you see what I see?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. I think I see like smoke." He's like, "Yeah, dude, it's been there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I've been staring at this, wondering if it's real or not. I had to wake you up to see if you see it." And I'm like, "I see it." And he's like, "All right, that's all I need." He freaked out, got up out of bed, hit the light switch. Nothing was there.
There it is.
And he's like,
Dude,
"I'm
nope.
just glad you see what I see." He's like, because I didn't know if I was losing my mind or whatever. So that happened when we were teens.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, all right. So when he found out I was doing investigations, he's like, "Hey, can you come to my house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why? What's up?" He goes, "Well, I had something bad kind of happen." He goes, "I have, he has kids now and he has a wife."
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "I'm not the only one that's seeing this. My kids are seeing this now, and they're seeing other things that are scaring them. And my wife is seeing some things. So I don't know if, my visions of what's happening has freaked them out and now it's like contagious, or if we're really
Yeah.
having a problem where we live. So can you have your crew come to our house?" I'm like, "Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. We'll come." So we decided to go to his house. He gave me the keys to his house. I told him and his family to leave. I said, "You leave, go to dinner. Do not come back until we tell you to come back. Allow us to just sit in your house for a couple of hours and relax and, do what we got to do." He's like, "Yeah, dude, we're going out. We're going to be gone. Like, we're going," I think he said bowling. "We're going bowling and we're going to dinner and then we'll be back later." I'm like, "All right." So we didn't get there until about 6 o'clock um, in the fall time. So it's already
Mm-hmm.
dark at 6 o'clock. I get there with two other people, and we set up um, a camera downstairs on a tripod,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you why in a minute. Then we set up upstairs with cameras into the kids room, and then we
Mm-hmm.
go looking into the bathroom. So the three things that he told me about that he was worried about was his wife was taking a shower. When she took a shower and when she got out, there was a smiley face drawn on the mirror.
Ew.
And no kid came into the shower because they have kids. No kid came
Yeah.
into the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. She screamed and freaked out because there was a smiley face in the mist on the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and she instantly panicked. So that was one instance where they couldn't explain how that happened.
I mean, I would too, for sure.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds fucking freak, bro.
Yeah. So that was the first
Ooh.
thing. The second thing is the kids will not go to bed anymore without the TV being on in their bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my first thought was that's their excuse to be able to watch TV in their bedroom at night. He's like, "No, they want white noise. They don't want to watch a show. They just don't want a black image." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "When you shut the display off, there's a reflection of the room, and they're saying they can see people in the reflection." My
Ew.
kid, and at the time, he
Ew.
has three kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was his two younger daughters that was saying this. He has an older son, and his daughters at the time were 7 and 9, and they're
Mm-hmm.
telling their father that when they look in the TV when it's off, it looks like there's people in the bedroom with them through the TV. So
That's
he's like,
gross.
so just to save anything from happening, we just turn it on to something where it's nothing but white noise, or no station or anything, and just let it sit like that so there's no reflection. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, what's the third thing? He goes, that's something I really want you to pay attention to. He goes, remember that time that we had that black mass or whatever? I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, well, this was different. I was laying down on my couch. I was exhausted. I was playing video games all night and passed out on the couch. I remember waking up somewhere around 3 o'clock, and my head was facing towards the kitchen. Now his kitchen, his living room into the kitchen has an archway. So, if you could bring up that pic. So
Yeah.
he has like this archway. So when he's laying down with his head against the the pillow or the arm or whatever, this is like the view he would have if he was waking up. So he was like, I woke up. It was dark late at night, and that's when I noticed something came from the ceiling and like put its arm and head around the lip of the ceiling arch. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it was like a figure, not a mist. So bring up that just to give you an example of like what he was seeing. He's like, it was dark at night, and then all of a sudden it was like on my ceiling and like peeking into my living room when I was sleeping. And I was like, okay, dude, that's totally different than what when we were young. He goes, it didn't do anything. He's like, but after a while it looked like it like receded back and it was gone. So I'm like, all right, that's some creepy shit now. That's not even just like a little bit of issues. Like those are some big ass weird shit issues.
Yeah, that sounds freaky.
Yeah. So when we got there, I set up the video camera right at the head of where he would have been sleeping, pointing into the kitchen.
Yep.
That's the first thing I did. Then we set the tone. We asked if there was anything down there to try to show itself or give us some sign. And we told them we were going to go upstairs. So we left the camera running all alone, and we just went upstairs and we went into the bathroom first. When I went into the bathroom, what's the first thing you do? Turn the hot water on and let it run.
Yep.
So when I turned the hot water on and let it run, I noticed something. The kids drew with crayons on the adjacent wall. So when you have crayon, which is wax, and water doesn't adhere to that wax, it creates a shape. So the smiley face was actually the back wall. The smiley face was actually the back wall. And when you looked through the mirror when it was like fogged, you could see the smiley face from the kids drawing it on the wall. So I was like, all right, so there's one thing that's already disproven. It's a reflection of the moisture on the wall that doesn't happen because there's a crayon that the kid drew. So I'm like, all right, so that explains that. And then we went into the kid's bedroom. Now, one of the things that we did was we would do EVP sessions and we would do EMF recordings. So we checked EMF on the second floor. We got no hits on EMF. So that's a meter that measures electronic magnetic force. And we didn't get any weird signatures until you get close to an outlet. So if you ever take one of those and you go anywhere near electricity, it'll start to go, right?
Yep.
So that's one way to test to make sure it's working. You go near an outlet because that's the energy that's coming off of it. So you go near an outlet, it would go off. Anywhere else, or a light or something, it would go off. Anywhere else, it wouldn't. So we decided to sit down in the kids' room. We put down a recorder, and we had the three of us sitting in kind of like a circle formation. And another thing that we would do is we would take a flashlight and we would unscrew the back of the flashlight so that way it was pretty much off. And you turn the flashlight on, and then if you barely touch the flashlight, the light will flicker. So what you're doing is you're taking the cap off so it doesn't allow that conduction from electricity to actually make the light go on, unless there's a little bit of pressure either on the back of the cap or if you touch the flashlight. We put the recorder next to the flashlight because it had a red light on it. And then we sat down and we would ask questions, and the way that we did it was everybody got to ask a question, but you took a turn. So you would ask a question, even though you heard nothing, you'd give it like maybe like 20 seconds, and then the next person would ask a question, you give it like 20 seconds. But if you heard something, you'd talk about it. So when we were in there, we were asking questions, and we later reviewed the tape. We didn't hear any like disembodied voices answer or anything like that. The only thing that happened when we were in that room was we told we thought maybe if it's kids, maybe it's a spirit of a kid or something like that. So we said, all right, if you're in this room, we have a red light, and we would like you to try to push that red light. As soon as we asked, the flashlight flickered. So we were like, all right, that's cool. But my first thought is that could be that could just be a coincidence.
Yep.
That could just be a coincidence. So we were like, oh shit, the light flickered. So we're like, all right. We waited around again. We asked a couple more questions, like, can you please tell us your name? How old are you? Are you here with us? Then we asked again, if you're here with us, can you please try to touch the red light? And as soon as we asked again, the flashlight flickered again. So we were like, okay, that's kind of interesting to have that happen twice. Damn. Right on cue. This is, you can see the person, no one's touching anything. That's it. When we went back to listen to the tapes, we never had any answers on the tapes. But what we did hear was footsteps coming up to the second floor. All three of us were in the kids' room, and no family was home. And you clearly can hear footsteps on the recording. I don't know why we didn't recognize it when we were in the house, but it was on the recording. You can hear these footsteps coming up. So we were trying to figure out when that, like, when you go back and listen to it, we're like, no, all three of us were sitting there. There is absolutely nobody there.
It just seems like everything is coming from the first floor.
Yeah, so...
And most of the stuff upstairs is, well, except for, obviously, the flashing of the light. But, I mean, you even said yourself the footsteps were coming up from downstairs, where he's seen the entity was downstairs. And the smiley face, I mean, he kind of debunked because of the drawing from the kids. So it sounds like most of the stuff is downstairs somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was our next trip. So we thought maybe, we had a feeling that the kids' room was kind of hot. That there was definitely some kind of activity or something, things that I couldn't explain. Like, that stuff that it happens, and then you're like, all right, is that coincidence or not? And then, it's not until later that we go back and review the EVP sessions and listening literally for hours for anything. And then all of a sudden get a hit and be like, wait a minute, why do I hear someone coming up the stairs? We were all upstairs. And then go back and reference your time analogy and be like, no, we're all asking questions. All three of us are in the room. Nobody left. Why do we hear someone coming up the stairs? So yes. And then the next thing we did is we went downstairs, and I started kind of looking at the camcorder, reviewing some just to see if I see anything. I didn't. I knew I was going to have to go back and watch it anyways. And then we started doing EVP sessions again downstairs, and we did the light trick downstairs, and nothing happened at all. Then I grabbed the EMF detector, and I started in the kitchen, and I didn't get any hits except for near the outlets or any like electrical appliance.
Yeah.
Then I went over to the living room, and holy shit, the EMF went crazy over to where my buddy was sleeping. So on the couch, literally where his head was, the EMF was nuts.
Jeez.
So I was like, why? That is weird. That it was like literally as I went closer to the couch itself, the EMF reader started going even higher and higher. I'm like, I think something's here. Like, we tried to get tape, we tried recording the area, seeing if we'd seen anything, nothing. So I sat back and I said, all right, there was like no real electrical or anything like that in that area. So I'm like, I'm just going to go down to the basement. I'm going to go down to the basement underneath the floor and see what's here. I went to the basement. The crew came with me You never know.
Yep.
We would go down to the
Yeah, I would
basement.
never go by myself anywhere. I'm a
Yeah.
fucking chicken.
Yeah, we went. We
Peacock?
went. We have flashlights and we kept the lights off, but we went down there. And when I got to the basement, that's when I recognized what's causing the EMF. He has the old-fashioned electrical panels that were fuses, and that fuse panel was causing so much EMF to come off of it that it was actually bad. It was bad. That was one of the things that you knew, like from me being an electrician, like EMF. So, you know, when you think of back in the days of like when people would have like, you know, tin hats and shit like that because they didn't want to get radio waves. Well, there's actually some truth behind the fact that if you have your brain sitting in any magnetism area, it's going to affect with your brain waves. He's sleeping right above this on his couch.
Jeez.
So what I said was his vision was probably because he was in a deep sleep and he's sleeping right where all this EMF from the fuse panel is affecting his head. So it can affect your vision.
Yep.
So he wakes up, his vision is affected, and then he starts to like hallucinate what it could be. So I told him. So that was my, you know, my feeling of what it was that he saw. To me, that was a scientific reasoning for why he could have seen what. Now, it doesn't mean it proves it.
Yeah.
But to me, that's absolutely something. There's so much EMF coming off that panel, right where his head is, affecting him when he's sleeping, wakes up, his vision's blurred. He's already, you know, whatever. Yeah. So they moved the couch. But the other two things, we couldn't say what it was. The steps coming up and that. So I gave him all that information back. I told him what I thought. I showed him the mirror and all that, which they were nice. I showed him EMF, which he's actually fixed the circuit breaker. You get a whole new one. And then
good.
When I talked about the steps in the kids' room and stuff, and that's when, you know, they go into what they believe, if they're going to do sage. They burnt white sage and all that stuff in the house. And but there was never anything that was harming anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that, like, I like to say, like, if you ever have any type of, you know, situation that happens, pay attention. Is it harming anybody or not? Because there's all different theories of what paranormal is. It could be echoes in time. It could be malicious. You know, it could be a poltergeist. So who knows if it is? But if you're just seeing something and it's not bothering you, you know, ask it to pay rent.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no. Speaking
Save
of the
space for the holy.
Space for the fucking.
Yeah, leave episode 2, by the way, if you don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, part 2 of that. Yeah.
Part two.
My speaking of when you were saying that you were having night terrors earlier, I actually had them for a long time. So when I went through a dark time, like with my depression after one of my biggest family members had passed away, my nanny, my great grandma basically is what her name. She went by Nanny, but anyways, she had passed away. She was a huge influence on my life. I learned so much from her alone. So apparently I learned today when I was talking to my uncle, I was like the number one child or something like that to her. You know, whatever. But when she passed away, I went through some dark times. I went through some depression and anxiety a lot more than I was going through already, with just being a teenager and stuff. I was around 14, something like that then. And when I would go to sleep, I would have one of two different dreams for a good year and a half or so.
Yeah, I've been there.
So what it was, though, they were very dark dreams.
Reoccurring.
Reoccurring. Same thing. Sometimes one or two little small pieces were different. But so the first one that I remember from this, I haven't had them in a while either. First one was basically I was sitting on a couch in her house, like her place that she used to live in, and there across the way was like a TV, and then the window to the right of the TV that's level with the house and level with the ground, to where you could actually stand outside and you could see into the window no problem. And I was napping on the couch there, and then I woke up to her standing outside in her normal dressing attire. Everything was normal except her eyes. Her eyes were
Wow.
gone. It's just black eyes,
Wow.
like hollow areas, and kind of like freaked the fuck out of me when I saw that. And I basically, what happened was the first time it happened, I just woke up and out of like pouring sweat, screamed, woke up because it was a night terror. And then the second time it happened, her mouth opened, and then that was usually the rest of them. So the rest of
Wow.
them, yeah, her mouth opened like it was just wide, like you know how
That's
in
some
some of the
Haunted
horror
Hill
movies,
shit.
kind of haunted, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the mouth
Yeah.
opened a lot wider than it's supposed to, and then she was screamed, but it was a muffled scream. So it, yeah, and it scared the shit out of me every time. And then the second one, which scared me more, that one was the one that got me the most. It scared me the shit out of me, Odin. The one when I was living at my mom's place, which is, you know, like a smaller room than the one I'm in already, the bed used to hang like this, and then the door was right here. Where if it cracked open like this, I could see from the other side of the head out into like the
Yeah.
hallway, into the bathroom. I mean, into the kitchen and like that area. When I would wake up, of course, it was dead silent everywhere, no lights on except for like a little small one in like the hallway, kind of just to kind of see, to go to the bathroom or something. And that same picture, like the TV was on also, I forgot about that, but it was a white noise, like kind of how the kids were with you, where they turned that on. I always have white noise as well. I've had it for years. Like I have to have something playing on the TV. But
Yeah.
apparently she was standing outside the hallway with the door like this much cracked and staring into the room, but with the same hollow eyes. And then I kind of like, you know, the first time I saw this, I kind of just like, you know, like fixed my eyes to, and
That's
saw,
fucked up.
yeah, it was fucked up. And then as soon as I kind of did the eye thing and I pulled my hands away from my eyes for a second, she was standing at the edge of the bed.
Yeah,
And
that's some
then
scary shit.
yeah, and her mouth was open again, and it was fucking screaming louder than normal, and then whoosh, she went straight at me, and it went through me, and then I woke up screaming my fucking head off. I was like, what the fuck was that? Oh, dude, that
Damn.
that was for a year and a half. Like I actually
Yeah,
have had one or
nightmares,
two
no
times
joke.
since then, but like, dude, fucking night terrors.
Now you can have another one tonight.
Bro, nah, it actually doesn't really show up to me anymore. Like it was usually the first year and a half, and then after a while, it kind of just slowly went away. I've only had it maybe twice since 2014 when I saw that, or not 2014, 2010. But
Yeah.
yes. But yeah,
Mine went pretty simple. Mine was like the average, like you ever hear when you're taking a shower, something touching you in the
Yep.
back of your head, or even
Yep.
on your back, on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that a couple times. Like legit can feel somebody literally touching me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Oh,
not just
yeah.
a feeling. It was just, you know, when someone touches you.
Feels like something's physically like
Yeah.
heated up right in the area that it was supposed
Not
to be
even. They
touching.
just kind of like it. Just on the back of my neck. It just kind of like a tap.
Yep.
I don't know how to explain it, like a tap, and it made me turn around like, yo,
Hello.
I'm naked, bro. Like what the hell? You know? That's you know I would say kind of normal. I've heard a
If
lot.
you're
of
gonna
people talk
touch me,
about
touch
something
me
like
down
that.
here.
Yeah. And in my old house, I had two floors, and both floors were kind of separate from each other, being like my dad had made the basement into a full-on apartment, whatever. But we would still use both spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But
Was this the one with that one guy that was really nice from the Jehovah's Witness?
no,
Okay.
no. This is different. This is our actual house.
Okay.
But yeah, and a lot of times I would hang out downstairs, mostly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And usually everybody's at work during the day. I get home from school or whatever, so I'm hanging out downstairs, and all of a sudden I hear like running upstairs. All right, not on the roof or anything. And literally, you know, we have wood floors upstairs, so I just heard running down the hallway.
Bro.
And we only have one hallway,
Yeah.
so I just literally hear, and it's loud, like, and I'm like, what the fuck? So then I walk upstairs, and I'm like, because I already know nobody's is there. Nobody's supposed to be there. Everybody's
Yeah.
at work. So I'm like, I walk upstairs, and you do like one of those things, right? You walk in and you walk into the door. The door's kind of closed, and
Yeah.
you go to walk into the door and just swing that shit right open, right?
Yeah.
Yo,
Who's there?
who's in here? Nobody's in here. Check the bathroom. Did the thing with the curtain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Real fast. Because you ain't gonna fucking surprise me, bitch.
Yeah.
So
Punch the fucking curtain
yeah,
before you open it just to see if
like-
someone's fucking there.
I've done that too. Yeah, smack it.
Yeah.
Yep, just
Real
in
quick,
case.
you know?
I do
Yeah.
every time.
I've done that. I've done that coming home, just because I felt like maybe somebody was in the house.
Just in
Yeah.
case, man.
Yeah.
You never
Just
know.
in
Even
case.
like push the door like extra, right? Make sure it hits the fucking wall. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yep.
Just push it like lightly.
Kind of be a little
Okay,
dramatic.
Okay. Whew.
Any door that's open and
Exactly.
any door that's already open but it doesn't look like it's all the way to the wall, boom! In case there's someone on the
Exactly.
other side. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hey,
Oh, and
that's a great thing for anyone listening. Comment whether or not you do these things or if we're just freaking weirdos.
Yeah. This is
But
fucking-
I've done this because of the shit that I've heard like in that house.
Yeah.
I've heard like several things, but it was more like footsteps, and I felt the thing with the hand. And that was another thing too. Not only did I hear the footsteps, I forgot about this. Can't believe I forgot.
Mhm.
I heard the footsteps, but then when you have dishes in the sink,
Yeah.
or not in the sink, but after you've washed them, you have
Like
them
they're
all
drying.
Yeah, drying and all that.
rack, yeah.
fucking
The
they
drying rack.
fell. They all fell. I could hear it all the way up. Like they just fell.
All of them broke.
No, like not on the floor. They kind of just concaved onto each other
Oh,
a little
okay,
bit more.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
the
like
way
it was
they
like
were
all
leaning,
of
yeah,
them. Like it was loud,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So anyway, I had like that type of simple stuff there, and then here where I live now, when my dad was alive, he was usually home too, and I was actually on Discord with a couple of you guys,
Yeah.
and we were just talking,
yeah.
or playing a game or something, I don't know, and all of a sudden, there's a knock on my door. That's fucking loud, bop, 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 bop. I have the headphones on, I could hear it, and I'm like, what?
You go what?
Yeah, what?
What?
No answer, right?
Damn.
So, my room is like always dark. It's kind of like how it is now, even during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm like looking over at the door, and I'm just kind of waiting for it. I'm waiting for him to say something to me, And as I turn to the door is opening slowly. Opening, and I'm waiting. And I'm still like, what? Nothing. So I get up, I get out, go
Your
out.
next
to the
your
li-
next words were, "What the fuck?"
What the
Yeah, I was like,
fuck?
what the
Yeah.
fuck? Because the door opened, no answer, and then when I walked out, nobody was home. I thought for sure somebody was home, but nobody was home. Nobody.
And it didn't sound like a door, like the front door or something? It
No,
just
no,
sounded
'cause
like
my
the
door-
doors right next to you? Yeah.
My door is right next to me, so someone knocked. Like I heard it, boom, boom. But my dogs were sleeping on the couch. They were just chilling out there sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it wasn't them, and nobody else was home. So to this day, I still don't know what the fuck that was, but that shit was loud. Something
Yeah, I
knocked on my
remember
door.
Damn.
I remember it
Yeah.
because
I remember that, yeah.
Because I even told you, because I'm like,
The fuck is going on?
You're
guys?
like,
you guys
I
gotta be kidding me
You're
right
like,
now. Like I'm
listen.
not making this shit up.
Yeah, you're like, listen, I gotta go check to see who knocked on my door. So I gotta see why my father, like you were like, I gotta check to see why. And then you came back, you're like, no one's
Nobody's
here.
home.
What the fuck is home?
And we're like, well, what do you think caused the knock? He's like, the knock. I heard a knock.
Oh,
definitely
I
heard the
know.
knock."
I know who it was. It was the Jehovah's Witnesses stalking you. Saying
It
that's
was.
yeah,
It
that's what
was.
happened.
It was.
They're like,
You know, actually, they were like,
hey,
save some
where you
space
guys
for
at?
Lily. Save room, save room,
Save some
save room
space
for
the
Lily.
holy. Yeah, I mean, like I said, and then I've also had to where, but I think this was more of because it only happened once to me. Actually happened to my dad a lot, but like the sleep paralysis thing, right? And kind of like
Yeah.
what you were saying before. I never had it again. I hope I don't have it
actually,
again. But
I've
yeah,
had that sleep paralysis. You
Yeah,
know, that
so-
actually is a thing. So
Yeah.
right after you've had
Yeah.
the night terror, you wake up. Sometimes you can't move because your brain hasn't woken up quick enough with you.
Yep.
That's what was told to me. Because I used to get it a lot when, not with night terrors. It was a symptom part of one of my old medications I used to take. So if I woke up in the middle of like whatever cold sweat I had or something like that, I couldn't move. I could kind of like lean my head to the right or something. And once I finally leaned enough, I could fall over and kind of start moving again. But
yes. So let me talk about that a little bit.
yeah, go ahead.
That one for me scared the shit out of me because I literally could not move. I couldn't scream.
Dude, that shit's
Yeah.
I was
nuts.
literally trying to talk. I was trying to call out for somebody, and nothing was happening. The whole thing
It's
is I'm
scary.
awake. I'm like, I know I'm trying to. I was trying to scream so fucking loud.
Nothing
And I
works.
couldn't, and then
Nothing
that
works,
scared
bro.
me the most because I know I'm trying to scream, but I literally cannot scream. What
Can't
is
do
going
anything,
on?
bro.
Can't move. I couldn't even move my head. I couldn't do it. All I could do was move my eyes. That was it.
Yeah.
That was
So
it.
that was one of the cool things, and that's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to be a paranormal investigator, is to really do research and start to learn some things that maybe I didn't know, and it helped me explain some of the situations that happened in my life, going back to that time where I was laying with my arms straight out and I felt like something was leaning over me and breathing different than me. So the explanation for that is sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis. So for those that don't know, when you are extremely tired or you're on medication that makes you very, very tired. So in my case, like I said, I was working and then I played a lot of sports. I was just physically and drained. And when I literally flopped on my bed and just passed out. So when you're in that state, your body releases chemicals to put yourself in a sleep state. Okay. So those chemicals are released purposely to numb and paralyze your body. And that's because if it doesn't, when you're dreaming about things like boxing, running, or anything like that, you're going to physically be moving your arms and legs and everything instead of just dreaming about what it is. There's actually people that have problems with this where the chemical doesn't actually prevent them from moving their arms and body, and they'll hit their significant other in their bed while they're sleeping, and they'll have violent outbursts because it's not working. So in this case, when it does work, it numbs you and it just puts you in a paralyzed state while you're sleeping. Now, when that happens, you're supposed to be asleep, you're supposed to be dreaming, and your subconscious mind's kind of like taking over and doing whatever it's going to do. However, when you are so exhausted, and then whether it's serotonin or melatonin, it might be melatonin. I'm sorry, I can't think of the correct thing.
Melatonin, the little gummies.
When because your body gives off its own melatonin. So
Yep.
when that's going through your system and it paralyzes you, you can subconsciously be awake. And what I mean by that is you can be coherent, you can hear what's going on in your room, your eyes are open and you can see what's going on in your room, and you can think, but you can't move. So the problem with that is there's a lag. So there's a delay. So when I was listening to see what the fuck that was on the side of me, which I thought I saw, but remember, my eyes are messed up because I'm paralyzed. I can't look. It's shadows. I hear breathing, and I literally was like trying to change my breathing, and I noticed that I heard breathing different than mine. There's a delay. There's a delayed response. So when I'm doing or whatever I'm doing and it doesn't do it, and then all of a sudden it does do it when I'm not doing it, there's a delay in your reactions because of sleep paralysis. And when you have sleep paralysis and you feel like you're awake, your body weight feels extremely heavy. People say they feel like someone's sitting on their chest. It's because normally, like if you ever try to pick up a person's body that's limp, it's heavy as hell. So you feel, for the first time, you feel your own weight of your own body on itself. And that's that feeling of pressure. So sleep paralysis is absolutely a real thing, and it is an explanation for a lot of things that happen where they think, they see something, feel something, they're getting possessed or whatever. It's actually
I feel like that sleep paralysis is definitely what happened to me for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was anything in the house, to be honest, but
That's
still scary.
Some
Still
of the
scary.
stuff can be
some people
solved
don't
by
know
that.
that's common. It is common. So
I'll tell you a story about that real quick before you get into your last one story for you, Devil.
yeah.
I don't even remember the dream I was having, but I remember the dream. It was me and my buddy Steve, who was in the first episode. We were hanging out
Steve.
or whatever, and someone knocks on the door and start at the house of a random house. I don't even know what the house was. I don't remember the house, but someone knocked at the door and Steve answers it, and they started like screaming at him or whatever, or like getting ready to start fighting him. And I come up behind and I start talking. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you guys yelling at my buddy? What's going on here?" And then they got really ready to like punch him, and I come around and I punch him. But then I also realized I made a very loud sound. I woke up at the same time as I punched the guy in the face. I had punched the wall behind me, which is
From the
to
dream.
Steve's room. Yeah, from the dream. And Steve didn't actually hear it. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I remember waking up like 3:15 or something like that, and I had my fist right next to the door, and I had a little red marks on there from punching it so hard. And there's no dent, thankfully, but still, this was before I put the posters and stuff up, and I
Yeah.
thought
That's
I could have
crazy.
swore that that was so loud enough to wake up Steve, but it didn't. He slept like a fucking rock, bro. And I
Yeah.
told
I
him the
mean,
next morning, he's like, "No, I didn't hear shit." That's so
I've
weird.
had that sometimes dreams can get so real. I mean, I've woken up bawling my eyes out. I've
Yeah.
woken up
Yep.
because I've suffered the loss of people that died in my dream, and it
Yep.
was so real to me that I woke up and I just cried. Like it was so real. Whether it was my one time it was my mom. So like I woke up bawling my eyes out, and then all I want to do is spend time with my mom. So dreams, there's real emotions and shit that happens from those freaking things.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
all right, so I'll go into another story to kind of
Go
talk
for it.
about the paranormal investigating. So um, this was actually one of the first things that we did uh, when they asked me if I wanted to be part of the paranormal team. I was a little bit skeptical at first because, like I said, I like to try to think about science and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, where do you go and what do you do? And they said, "Well, we if we have friends of people, like my best friend's situation. So if we have friends of people, we'll investigate that stuff for them. But there are things that we'll do outside of that." So I'm like, "All right, well, what's one of the things?" They said, "Well, we do research for the area and see if there's any stories or lore behind." Anything that we could go to that's maybe public or public land or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they said, "So what we're gonna do, we'd like you to come with us, is we're gonna go to a cemetery at night." And I'm like, "All right, I don't know if I like that." And they said, "Well, this is a very well-known cemetery in New England that's known to be haunted. There's many, many stories about people seeing things, hearing things, feeling things. So it's a hot area for
Yeah.
chances of things happening, and we want to be able to try and see if we can experience these things or if it's just nothing."
Yeah.
So I said, "All right, well, like, look," I said, I said, I'm not really that religious." I said, "But these are people's grave sites and they're kind of sacred." They said, "We know. We're actually bringing a priest with us.
Hmm.
And he's going to bring holy water and he's going to bless us and he's going to make sure that, we're not doing anything that's, sacrilegious or anything like that." And I said, "Okay." I said, "That makes me at least feel a little better. For
Yeah.
one, there's a freaking priest in case something happens. But two,
Yeah.
it just like if he's gonna come and do it, then it made me feel better." So
Yeah.
so we decided on meeting there, and this was late in November. This was years ago, late in November.
Hmm.
So it was like really, really cold, but there was no snow. The leaves had already fallen for the most part. Um, and it was cold. So we had to dress up to be, warm.
Hmm.
So we met at this place called it's actually Pine Hill Cemetery, but they call it Blood Cemetery. Now
Hmm.
they don't call it Blood Cemetery because of blood or like vampires.
Hmm.
There's actually a tombstone that's the Blood family. So if you bring up that pic just to kind of show the tombstone. So here's Abel Blood. So this is actually a picture from one of the tombstones, and I'm going to explain a little bit about one of the folklore or stories of this.
Hmm.
So this this tombstone here, it was explained that like it was interesting that there's just a finger pointing up. So they said it's the finger to God. It's a finger to heaven. It's in representation that it's pointing up and looking up. There was no real explanation as far as why there was a hand, but it was just something that was like told through
Yeah.
stories throughout life.
Yeah.
One of the haunting stories is if you go there at certain times, the hand's pointing down,
Hmm.
no longer pointing up on the tombstone.
Weird.
So yeah, I've looked for proof. I haven't seen proof, but I know that that story is out on the internet a lot, and there's like a lot of conversation. So it could be, folklore, fairy tale. It could be nothing, but that's like one story.
Yeah.
Another story was that it's over by an Indian burial ground, and you will hear like tom tom drums. So a lot of areas
That's where my
here.
old house used to be, was on Indian land, actually. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of places here are actually named after either Indian land or anything like Muscopik and Winnipesaukee and
Mhm.
things like that. Like those are all Indian name references for the areas. So that's nothing new to this area. So especially we're in New England, so that's Indians lived here. So um so there was always stories of like hearing either like rain dances, seeing people that lived near there would see like
Yeah.
Indians walking around, that weird things like that. So we were like, all right, maybe we'll catch that. And then there was a story of little kids being seen walking around the cemetery at night with no
Hmm.
parents, to the point where there's police reports, people calling saying, hey, there's a lost child and they're in the cemetery. We probably should send a police car to go and investigate. So I was like, all right, so that doesn't sound like, anything like really horrible, but it sounds like it'd be interesting to just go and do it. So let's
Mhm.
see how it goes. So we decided to meet there. We got there later at night. This was like 11 o'clock at night. We didn't
Mhm.
It was like really close to a road, and we didn't want people seeing that we were walking around in the cemetery, so we wanted to be there during a time that nobody would bother us, and we weren't really bothering anybody. So we got there really late, like around 11 o'clock to start. We parked a little bit down the road and we walked into the cemetery. And we looked around, and it was just old graves, not that big.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised it wasn't that big, but it was big enough where we could
So she
spread
said.
out and
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to put this in.
leave space for the holy.
Oh yeah.
So we decided to team up
Mhm.
into pairs of two. So we had five people that were there this time,
Mhm.
because we had the three people that I mentioned before. We had a priest, and we also had someone that was a medium. So this is the first time I ever met this person. So
That's
I didn't
cool.
know them. I didn't know who that person was, so I didn't go with them. I was with one of the people that I was with, and we just kind of walked around the different areas, and we randomly took pictures. We would try to do EVP sessions by
Mhm.
two people standing next to each other,
Yeah.
one person asking questions, the other person listening. And here's something that a lot of people don't talk about. You know, if there is such a thing as a spirit or someone that passed away, how
Mhm.
the fuck do you know they speak English?
Yeah. Right.
How do
It's
I
true.
know that? So, like when we're asking questions, sometimes I'd rather have someone that speaks Spanish or something like that, because what if they
Well,
don't
now
speak
you get
English?
that. You get the Spanish all the time in Warzone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're not wrong.
Um,
They always haunt in
so,
my dreams.
this comes to like, Indian and stuff like that. Like, how do they know if I'm speaking, Boston English, that they're going to be able to understand the questions? So a lot of the times when I did the EVP sessions, like I was very mindful of that. So my questions were usually very, very simple. Not that that would make a difference, but I just didn't want to use certain words that if it was someone that died in 1820 and I said, "Oh,
Mhm.
can you go touch the computer?" They're going to be like, "The fuck is that?" You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
you got to be mindful of that stuff. So anyways, I was walking around the cemetery and didn't really notice anything. Somebody took a picture by a tree and they thought they caught something near a tree. Um, the There was no really like odd sounds. The the gravestones were creepy as hell. Like they were old. One of them that had a boy's name on it actually had a hole in it that looked like someone shot the grave with a gun and blew a hole out because it had like an entry point, and then the back of the grave was blown out, like the whole all the stone was like blown out, and we were like,
And
why
even
would someone
even
fucking
the
shoot that? You know?
even the graveyard at night, right, with the moonlight on it and everything,
Yeah,
just looks
it's
creepy. If you get down to like the level of the tombstones and kind of just look,
yeah,
from one side to the
Yep.
other, it just looks super creepy, right?
Yep.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And you're putting yourself in that situation where you've never been in before. Like, I was a little kid and I probably played around in a couple of graveyards that I shouldn't have. We played Relivio and stuff, but
Yeah.
when you're older and you kind of know more stuff, it gets a little bit more intense. So I might have hung around that priest a little bit closer than probably some of the other group.
Yeah, I would have.
But what happened was we were walking around trying to take pictures, and I had a video camera. I had a video camera. I had a headlight, and the person I was with had a recorder. So all of a sudden, somebody from the other group come over to me, and they were like, "Hey, I keep taking pictures in your direction, and every time I do, there's like a little bit of a light over your shoulder." And I'm like, "What do you mean there's a light over my shoulder?" They're like, "I don't know. It's like almost look like an orb." And I'm like, "Okay." So I start looking through the pictures, and I do notice it looks like it's a light, but I'm looking around because we're near a street, so I'm like, maybe it's a street lamp. And every time they take a picture, it just happens to be the street lamp that's getting caught. So that's my first thought. As she's telling me this, my buddy comes up to me and goes, "I noticed that I actually did the same thing." He starts showing me the pictures. And same thing with him. When he's taking pictures of me, I wasn't in the same area in the cemetery. And it's the same thing. There's like a little white light that's like over my shoulder. So we were like, that doesn't make sense. Why? So the first thing I think of is, all right, if your flash is on, I'm wearing a friggin' flashlight, whether it's on or not. Maybe it's a reflection from my flashlight. So I take off my headlight and I'm like, just take pictures the rest of the day. So we're walking around, and the girl that I was with that had the recorder said she wanted to go over by the other group. So I'm like, all right. So I literally just sit down at a grave, sit down right next to the grave, and I have the recorder. I put the recorder down, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm like, you know what? Here we are asking all these questions. I feel like I need to give some respect. So I sit there and I just say, if you can hear me, I just want to say that I'm sorry that we're here. If you are here and you want to reach out to us, if you understand me, please just say hi. And I wait 20 seconds. Maybe just say your name. I wait about 20 seconds. I don't hear anything. It's not like someone's like, "Hi, I'm John." It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Can you make leaves move near me?" And I brush the leaves. I'm like, "Can you make these leaves move?" And I brush them. And then I wait, and I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. And then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I remembered that they tell me that they see this light. So I got my camera with me, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm like, I wonder if I can do it. So I just take my camera, turn it around, and take a selfie shot with my camera. So bring up that pic. So this is me sitting down. I'm just sitting on a grave, like near a grave, not on a grave. And it's just me, like literally taking the camera and taking a picture. If you notice, over my left shoulder, there's a little white light. No, look to the right there. So I'm like, and I'm like, that's not a street lamp, because the street lamps are way to my side. So I noticed that, and I'm like, what the? And I don't look.
Doesn't that look oddly familiar?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look
Oddly familiar, almost the same shape and size and everything.
Got him.
So I'm looking at my camera now. Mind you, the cameras back then weren't like they are today. So I had a little window, and I'm staring, and I'm like, I think I can see a light. I'm like, so I'm trying to figure out, like, do I have anything shiny on me? Do I have a necklace? Is it my earrings? What is it that's causing that light? I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to research the photos that I take and ask everybody else to do the same and try to figure it out. So I finally get home. I listen to all the EVP sessions. I don't hear a damn thing. look through all my photos. I don't see a damn thing out of the ordinary. Nobody else does. We're all talking about it. And then I come to this picture and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. The white light picture. So all I do is go, I want to see if that's a lamppost that's behind me or what that is. So I increase the brightness on the photo, and this is what I get. I freaked the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, when I
Kind
did
of looks
that,
like that kid from like the Gerber stuff, you know, like just
so
looking on the bottle. That's
now
what it looks like.
I want you to
Yeah.
understand that all I did was increase the brightness. And as a matter of fact, I gave Caleb this same photo and I said to him, just increase the brightness and tell me what you see.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, scientifically, I think this could possibly be maybe condensation on the lens.
Yeah.
However, if you look right to where that, like, yeah, I literally see shades of like where eyes would be, a nose and a mouth, and it looks like a kid. And then behind the
Yep.
kid, is that like a family? Like, here I am, and I literally had just said, like, if you're here, you know, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you, but just say something nice. And then I'm like, if you can, you know, give me a.
Do you think
spin.
it wasn't a
I heard
family?
nothing.
Do you think
I
it
have
might
no
be
idea,
more than
dude.
that?
I have
Like,
no idea.
because you're in a
It-
grave site, so there could be all of the entities just talking, chatting.
Dude, and that's what I mean. Like, there's some in the distance, there's some that's
Mhm.
not. I'm like,
Yep.
so scientifically, there is a possibility that that could be some kind of maybe mist or something. And if you
Mhm.
notice, like, if you look over my shoulder, you can see the gravestones.
Yep.
And look, I'm sitting down. Like, you know, I'm at the gravesite, and
Yep.
I'm sitting at the gravesite, and that's
Yep.
what comes out. So to me, that's fucked up.
Ooh, I mean that's it. That is freaky because like when we went to the photo before. Oh, whoops. Well, I mean, I guess if you compare now, you don't really
Yeah.
see much. You see like a hint of something there.
Yeah,
But you
so
don't notice
see
it right
it's like a
away.
redness. Yeah, you see it's like a redness that's there. But I'm like, so it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I don't get what the, you know what I mean? But I wasn't
Yeah.
even really focusing on that redness. I was focusing on the white dot to see if
Yep.
it was a street light. So
Yep.
actually, if you look in the bright picture too, I think it might be, but you can't really make it out. I don't know what that is. I can't, like, I have no idea to this day. I'm like,
It could be
I
just a
can't-
ghost orb, you know.
I
Certainly.
have no idea what that is. I could not figure out what it is. for the life
Or
of me.
the only thing it could be, did you have a lot of pictures with that exact same spot?
Me, no, because
Oh.
at the time, this is actually, so if you ever happen to go to Blood Cemetery or Pine Hill, it's actually like on a curve and up, like the curve is like up a hill, and
Mhm.
then the cemetery kind of like goes back down the other side a little bit at a slant. It's not
Mhm.
straight, it's not flat. So
Yeah.
I'm down the end of the hill, and then there's like a man-made rock wall that actually surrounds the cemetery. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of near where the rock wall is, and the main reason why I'm over by that area is because that's where they said they saw Indians and stuff like that. Was
Mhm.
there's like a couple of parts of the rocks that were like
Mhm.
broken off. So I was sitting there. It was just a place that I felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here and just wait and have a conversation, see what happens.
Hmm.
I took that, and I just randomly was like, oh yeah, snap, and took that picture. Didn't think anything too much about it when I was there, and then went home and I was like, brightness, and then I was like, shit, I called everybody. I gave them the photo. We used to have a website. So one of the things that when we were starting it too, they didn't really know what to call themselves. When we started really getting into it, we wanted to do like a business name. So we ended up coming up with Shadow Stalkers.
Mhm.
So, and I created t-shirts and like the name stuff. So like I was one of the technicians, because I handled the equipment, walked around with a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
I still have that shirt actually to this day. It was really cool. I like to do logo design stuff, so it was a really cool
Mhm.
logo. But
That's awesome.
so I ended up, I have a family and stuff like that, and after that happened with that photo and some other things, I was kind of thinking about, do I really want to take a risk and a chance of bringing something back to my family?
Yeah.
And I decided to not do it anymore, because just in case. So I kind of went from that scientific mind where I kind of believe things but wanted to realize what was real, not to believe enough
Yep.
to
Night
be
wake up.
smart and try to be safe. So
Night wake up.
yeah. he's doing his freezing.
No,
So,
I was just
possessed.
imagining whatever like what he was saying. I'm just imagining it in my head.
Very visually, yes, I get you. Trying to
Yes.
get the dreams to go to yourself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
So,
just encompassing everything he was saying, just listening to his
Just
words.
soaking it all in.
wah, 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 wah.
But that is so freaky. When you showed me that photo a couple weeks ago, oh, dude, I was like, oh man, that's insane. Because you, like you said, you can clearly see. My opinion, if I saw that photo, and it's in a graveyard, I don't know family wise. I mean, some of it could be family, but I feel like that's just a whole cluster of people that
It
have
could be.
passed away that are just kind of roaming the area. They don't
Yeah,
know what
it's
to do,
ve-
and they just roam.
So the reason why I said some of the details is it was November. It was cold. You don't see like. So here's some things I would just want to. If anyone that's watching this show, if you want to believe what you want to believe, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you something. Ghost orbs. Majority of the ghost orbs that you see, it's dust particles or some kind of
Yeah,
like
I don't.
particles that
it's
reflect
solid
I
light.
never.
Majority
me
of them, yeah.
personally, me personally, I never really took the ghost orb thing seriously. Personally,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of like ghost orbs. Like that doesn't. I mean, most of them are like you said, dust particles that just kind of the camera catches the white light of it, and it just shows it a little brighter than the rest of the room. So that, and obviously it's a dust particle, so it's floating. It's, you know.
So,
But-
so the theory behind like realistic or what they would consider to be more of a ghost orb is that there's intelligence behind the movement.
Yep.
So if the ghost orb's not just like floating from left to right, if it looks like it's moving with a specific purpose, then you can't really just say that's a ghost. You can't just say that that's dust because dust doesn't all of a
But
sudden
it's
change.
air,
patterns.
and air
Right.
can be like
Yeah.
water. It has currents. You
Yep.
know, it
It's
hits
following
certain
the air of
things.
current. Yep.
If
If
someone
you-
moves through, you have such a force as you move through it. Literally, you sucking whatever's like coming, whatever's behind you. You're sucking it in towards you as you're walking
Yep.
away from it.
Because you have a certain
Yeah.
amount of movement.
And
That's
if you-
going speed wise.
If you ever want to see ghost orbs, then just take a camera that any one of your cameras or phone cameras, set it up in a living room somewhere at night, and then put it on, like a dark setting, and then take a pillow and spank the pillow and watch the ghost orbs fly everywhere.
Yep.
You won't see them with your eyes. You won't see the dust come off your pillow.
Yep.
But when you hit that pillow through your camera lens, you're going to see those reflections. And all of a sudden, you're going to see,
A couple of them moving around.
yeah, you're going to see ghosts. You're not going to see,
yeah.
you're going to see a lot more than a couple.
And I mean, so I'm not saying that ghost orbs aren't like real. I'm just saying like most of them can be proven to not be real. That they're just dust particles. Like
Yeah.
you said, sometimes there might be one or two that are like actually have like move with purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to kind of tell that. I would say, like you said, set up a camera, and if you see during the night something moving and nobody was in that room the whole night that it happened, and there was no like air movements or no like it, and the fact that it wasn't near a vent or anything, then I might like see that it could be real, because nobody was in there and there was no air vents
Yeah.
nearby. That would make more sense for me.
So the thing about Blood Cemetery, I'm going to go back to it, is because there's been a lot of other people there that have been, so-called paranormal investigators like me, or maybe obviously more professional than I am. And there's been some stuff that's been caught. I sent you a picture of one that was in a paper, where the person was taking photos, and in the photo they caught what they thought was a disembodied figure. So when and this is one of those things where my scientific mind comes in and starts saying, what could that be? If it's not a actual ghost, and it's something else, what would that be? So in the photo you'll see that it's actually like a photo of the blood cemetery, and then it's a nighttime shot, but see how grainy it is?
Yeah.
So it's a very grainy shot, and then it looks like there's like a figure of a female that's walking away, or like the back. You can almost see like the back hair.
Kind of looks like
And
she's
like
wearing like a dress or something.
yeah, or like a robe, which is the ghost stories you always hear. It's like a white dress with dark,
Yeah.
white dress with hair or whatever. So this was from one of the local papers, from a guy that took a photo and said that he was there investigating, and he happened to catch movement on the side of his eye, and he turned his camera over and put the flash on and took that pic. So me, like, when I look at that, I'm like, all right, well, that's a possibility, maybe that there is actually a gravestone. But I don't understand what that sheen is, like the hair.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's really cold, like in the months of November, and you breathe, you actually can catch the condensation coming from your breath.
Yeah.
You can catch breath on film, and it looks like a mist going through the air. I see it on ghost shows all the time, where all of a sudden, like, they'll breathe and they'll move their camera to right where they just breath, and then all of a sudden you'll see like a mist, and they're like, oh, did you see that mist? It was your fucking breath, dude. Like, that's what that was. But that's like hard, because if I was to say that that's breath is usually just like a shade of gray or white. But that literally, you could almost see like an outline of hair, or like a sheen of hair.
What I was thinking, it looks like kind of like a veil, in my opinion, like something that's going over the hair to give it a little bit of a white sheen.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a little too perfect, if that makes sense. Like, perfect enough to where it's the shape of the veil. And then, like, it looks like she's holding up if she's facing away from the camera, it looks like she's holding up the right side of the dress or whatever she's wearing, it looks like, and walking away. I don't know. So what's the deal with these right here? Like, is that
those are the graves? Like, look at how those graves look. You know what I mean? Like, they're really old. Some of them have been damaged and stuff like that. There's been some people, unfortunately, that don't have the respect for the grave sites, so they cause some damage to them. But it's just another. And if you ever look it up, if you look up New England Blood Cemetery, you're gonna see lots of stories about that area. So that was something that was kind of close and local. And it was one of the ones that they were like, hey, you want to come check this place out? And I do want to say something, that one of the things that the priest did was he blessed us, and he blessed our cars. And when he said a prayer, one of the things that he said was, you're not allowed to follow. You must stay. You're not allowed to follow. And he blessed the cars. I've never seen that in any,
for the holy.
I've never seen that in any movie or anything like that. But holy shit, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, how come?
Well,
that's
the best thing
never
you
in a
can
movie?
honestly do when you go there, just hide your license plate. They will never know who you are. I mean, they know you make a model. They won't know your license plate, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're good.
Yeah, the computer's just going to go. I mean, look, the ghost is going to go look on a computer trying to find Devil's license plate.
Yeah, some
It's
Indian
like, I'm gonna haunt that
ghost
bitch later.
Some Indian ghost is going to learn how to use the PC. And then,
It's like, okay, he lives at so and so place. I'm gonna be there in 5 minutes.
He's gonna rain
fuck out of him.
gonna rain dance all over your face. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make a smiley face on your bathroom mirror. I'm gonna stand inside the stuff in the background. Oh, dude, that is so dark, bro. Some of the some interesting, some scary, some horrific style stories. Yeah, dude. I'm actually floored at the 2 stories that you were able to bring to us with that, and some of the stuff that you hadn't told us, like with your friend and the entity that he was kind of seeing a little bit, and
he still tells me
a little bit.
He thinks it actually might be a guardian angel or like a relative that's been watching over him since he's been a kid.
Could be
that's what he
someone
believes.
that he grew up with when he was a kid. Like, that's what I thought was. I don't know if I feel my nanny watching over me or anything like that, but just seeing here, because if it's correct, she's supposed to be in heaven watching from up there. So she shouldn't be down here, but who knows? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. We don't know. But yeah, I don't know. That dude, great stories. A night that the story with your people running down the halls, your dad, not your dad, but
Yeah, I was
someone
here
knocking
for
on the door.
I was here for that.
Sheesh. Dang, that's crazy, you guys. Yeah. Mhm. 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 It's
Yeah, that's
aliens.
another topic.
Oh yeah, like they're using like invisible shields to kind of cover them over. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just it could be one of many
So,
things.
um,
There's some alien stories that we should definitely talk about next time, though.
I
Because
only have a couple of them, but
yeah, I mean, well, I don't have really many myself, but I'm talking about like, they announced that what Area 51 has been holding this whole time, haven't they? They finally released it like the last year or two. Uh, uh,
I don't know. Have they?
I think they're only
I don't know.
because they're. I think they're supposed to allow a certain amount of
I've been there.
information. Yeah, so I was watching this thing. Funny enough, on Disney Plus about it. Um,
I've been
it
to
used
Roswell.
to be Roswell. Did you go to Area
Yeah.
51 too, or?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's in Roswell. Yeah. Yeah, I toured New Mexico. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what I learned from there, like recently, like a couple of days ago, I was watching this documentary about Roswell slash Area 51, where they they were showing us from the beginning to now, kind of like obviously it's only aerial views and you can't see what's in the bunkers down below or whatever is in actually the thing. But funny enough, it was on Disney Plus. That threw me off first because I was like, wait. But then History Channel is owned by Disney now too, so that's why a lot of the history stuff was on there. I don't remember the name of the whatever it was called, but I know that it was talking about Area 51, and they were going through all the different stuff that was happening there. Like when it first opened as Area 51, it was supposed to be a testing site for planes. It was right near a
Aeronauts.
huge it was right near a huge field that they used to test a lot of the atomic bombs and like just random bombs that had a lot of radiations or whatever. And it was right downwind from it, so every time that a bomb would go off, a lot of the radiation wind would hit that area. So they only wanted to do the bare minimum there before they finally stopped using the area for the bomb testing, and they actually built up more than just the three hangars. They only had three hangars there and a handful of like trailer buildings that they would do a lot of their studying and whatever on the planes, training, whatever, and testing. Like I think it was like one of the fastest planes at that moment, and they were also testing the planes that were a little like invisible, but they were just
The
elevated.
Blackbird.
Yep, that was a lot higher than the regular elevation, so they could hide out of sight a little more easier. I feel if there is alien stuff, we can talk about it more next episode. But my opinion is, I feel like that's what some of the people have been assuming is a flying saucer, is the big, that huge black plane, because it's not shaped like a regular plane. It's fully connected to itself, like a triangle kind of thing, a little bit. And that flies a lot higher than normal, and it looks like it's not moving because of how high it is. So and it looks like it's just sitting there. Sometimes it could be, but it's moving fast. It's just so high up that it's not doesn't look like it's moving right away. So I feel that
Conspiracy
might
theories.
could be conspiracy. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, let's definitely try to figure out some of that stuff. Great haunting stories, great paranormal activities. You can't say that, trademark. But yeah, thank you, Devil, for bringing that in. If you want to, you could always come
You're
back and
welcome.
tell us some
Thank
really
you.
great stories again. Night, don't fall asleep. But yeah,
He's
do you
got
have
his
anything?
he's got his beats in.
Oh yeah. Now, anybody else have anything
You know
before
it.
we go ahead and cut it out?
That's it for me.
That's it for me. Thank you, Devil.
You're welcome.
ya.
It's never it for me. I got more.
There's always more. There's plenty of stories.
Yeah.
All right. Well, catch you later. This is the Toothless Chaps.
Peace out.